The Enlightenment Chasers. Royalties of Peace. We are stealing the storms back to peace that has no storm, while holding on to perfect peace. While we are on this journey, we must remember politics is spirituality of the highest. I try for us to understand logically the three levels of our experience with politics: the matrimonial, the missionary, and the highest, politics. Politics is military. May sound confusing because some will expect missionary to be above military. But we are in the physical state, which is so impossible to put missionary before the military. When it comes to our physical state, where we are still multiplying and dividing and making our own, the military stays at the top and the missionary comes second, and then the matrimonial, where all attention is. Just like how the Republic and the Democratic are with the people. It's always about the people. The Republic will always be the top and Democratic Party the second. And then we the people. And so long we keep on multiplying, Republic will always stay at the top. But if we come to our senses and realize the purpose of our first forefathers, the expectation of our first forefathers in all of this enabling, we will realize that democratic can become above the republic. Not above to suppress, but above to tame. Because the democratic can only come above republic when republic is satisfied. If we do not want dictatorship, then we must be able to address ourselves, the people, to expect it. This episode, the 23rd episode of our golden age commencement. It is March 6th of 2025 by Maris Freelefang. There might have been a little miscounting from the 21 episode and the 22nd, and I hope we can fix that and continue. We are humans, and let us keep on encouraging each other so that the young generation can be of perfection. Generation Z is yearning for perfect peace. Generation Z is yearning to applaud for us. Generation X and Generation Y. We must be able to heal from our weaknesses. Like President Trump said, this is the best era compared to the time of His Excellency President George Washington, the first president. It would have been that of His Excellency President Bill Clinton. But it did not happen because the people were still falling short of the expectation. People were still of knowledge deficit of the Enlightenment calling. Yet we are not fallen. We are able to pick up, and we, the people, can really change things such that the next president, be of Democratic Party, can experience the blossoming of perfection of work done. Today, watching the news, and learning about executions of peace over America takes not only appeasing America but also the surrounding world, because we are a multicultural miniature of the world. Whatever affects any of the countries outside of the United States of America can affect the United States of America, because we are a people of all the other nations. According to Fox News, Sir Stephen Witkoff, for negotiation for peace, a special envoy to the Middle East, brings news concerning the hostage of 2 Americans and 7 Israelites, and interventions to cease completely the terror going on in the Middle East between Hamas and Gaza, a beloved people, a holy ground. When we talk about Middle East, we talk about the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. We talk about Mecca, very powerful religion that encompasses the religions of the world, especially with Christianity. And it takes us back with the one Father, Papa Abraham, of ancient days. Reminds us of Papa Abraham Lincoln. It's all about truth that can bring peace. We have had so many forms of truth, but what we need is the truth that brings peace and not discrimination. He testifies that Hamas is working on releasing this captured, and the need to cease the hostile ways of expressing our frustration. No one is in denial that the Israelites might not have caused a concern upon the Palestinians. But the approach of solving the problem is what is very disturbing. We have come to a place where our world is a place of educated people, ethically educated people all over the world, not only in the USA. And not only of education, but with spirituality involved, we are expecting a higher equity with the people in the East, considering their background. At this time, Passover is coming by, and Ramadan has already started. A time for peace. A time for peace. It is true that the Muslims don't like to kill people. It's not a pleasant sight, but I tell you, the physical body is so limited to our spirituality, such that some, so focused with spirituality, can neglect what the body is. Which is why we who care so much about our bodies should be able to understand the need for spirituality. Muslims are focused with spirituality, just like how Egypt is one of a kind. You do not get into Egypt or Palestine, this other side that has nothing to do with Israel, and try to multiply among them. You disregard their tradition, seeking reasoning. It affects them because the power over them is not just a power of physical keeping, but rather ascending. The reason why you see the Muslim men wearing gowns, even with the Israelites wearing gowns, and yet still of knowledge deficit than the Muslims concerning our true purpose of reaching enlightenment perfect. There must be some negotiations to work out with these two, understanding their war is not just a physical war, but spiritual war, which I'm very glad how the president is approaching the need to stand for the intimidated one. That's one thing with the USA, United States of America, does not really stand with the one that is right, but also with the one that is being broken. The same reason why being tested in Europe with Russia and Ukraine, you expect that President Trump should stand behind Ukraine instead of Russia. But if you look at the war, the struggle between Russia and Ukraine, the other European countries are all behind Ukraine. So it pushes the United States of America to stand behind Russia instead. Expresses what the USA is all about, standing for the weak. Not because you're right, but because you're weak. But now standing behind the weak or the alone is not to encourage abuse, but for us to reach the enlightenment of expected. So Steve Witkoff said that the president needs a good, reasonable humanitarian strategy from the people who are struggling with conflicts affecting the human body. No to barbaric hostages and responses when we have problems. is the cry of the United States to the whole world, stating that the outcome orientation of the president is peace and no more war. When we have the battlefield of the mind, enough war to resolve, we cannot keep on suspending the expected that needs to be resolved and falling on others. That is not even part of the true war, the battlefield of the mind, the need for knowledge to understand why humanity is in this existence, where human nature or the nature of the world is contradicting. The more we increase, the more we struggle with our human world. They need to draw a good reasoning, which is why UN was made. But if UN is not fulfilling that, now it is said that after the meeting with President Trump and the few presidents that have come over to the United States of America, those from these places of complications, from the Prime Minister of Israel to His Excellency President Zelensky of Ukraine, and the expectation to keep meeting with these presidents for negotiation for peace among themselves, and among themselves is among us. It's not like we are not being touched. These are our people. There are Russians here who are Americans, and there are Ukraine here that are also Americans. There are Israelites here that are Americans, and there are Palestinians that are Americans. And being of the United States of America, we must be able to enable strategy that assists the healing of all without anyone being neglected. We are trying to prevent discrimination. Even the one that is right will not give us the chance to discriminate upon the one that is weak, even if they're at fault. It's about supporting each other to reach enlightenment with morality, with ethics, the need for a holy dialogue and not cruelty on the physical body. Yes, we make mistakes and say things that are just absurd, but we must be able to remediate each other or find someone that can start the process before others can get in. Peace in the Middle East is needed. Peace in Europe is needed. Peace all over the world is a requirement for us to resolve the mental slavery. Reversing our ashes to beauty, the need for closure, at least in our human race. Enough of the depletion with color, race, diversity, and sex orientation, gender difficulties. We must try to appease each other and reach to a closure. According to the European intervening with the works of the USA concerning the war in Ukraine and Russia, they are now picking up. It says Sir Stephen Witkoff said UK is giving 2 billion into Europe defense, Germany 450 billion, EU 150 billion, and so forth, trying to enforce defense for each other and keep peace. Starting now, which would have been already before, all those that were bruised and like dust at war with each other between Russia and Ukraine. How did it go that far? But It's not about blaming each other, but being glad that at least a solution is coming up, a sign of care is coming up. And if Europe can do this, that will be so much assistance unto the USA. Being the city on the hill does not despise the ability of those around. Now I'm talking about Mexico, the closest neighboring country to USA. The same continent, America, now receiving tariffs over their products sent into the USA can be very misunderstood, can be misunderstood by some of us of how could that happen when we are supposed to be a one continent and one people, reminding us USA is an invader. It is not about the invasion, but rather the purpose of our world. After all, it's much more of like a parent enabling a child to save money in a bank that will assist the child at the end. It's not like USA is going to take the money and spend it. It's much more of like helping them to be able to produce money that can care for them. At the end, USA is the one that provides for countries when it comes to assistance and aids. This is just another strategy of USA to be competent of sending help and assistance when other nations need it. Because we are all recovering, looking onto the USA, and USA must make strategies that assist. It's not about taking from Mexico. When it comes to countries in the United States of America, in countries in America, all what is being given is only for their own support. It's more of like a bank. And adding more tariffs onto China is just a matter of comprehending how much USA involves with the world. I hope this beautiful lesson, reflection, episode, the lessons of this episode manifest healthily in our minds so we can encourage each other to wellness. We are on a journey to the destination perfect peace, and it involves caring for each other all over the world, not despising the weak, not despising the problem makers, but they are only like alarms. We're looking for the right ways to enable closures of none left behind. Orientating for peace is our calling. Let peace still the storm, back to peace that has no storm, holding on to perfect peace. Thank you.